I do not know how else to say this, but the organization has reportedly set an impossible ultimatum for Deshaun Watson, effectively mandating a perfect 17-0 season plus a Super Bowl ring for him to earn another contract. This is a massive ultimatum that shifts the entire trajectory for the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation. There are two angles to break down: the immediate reality of his current deal and the long-term implications for our roster. This situation is evolving fast, so we need to analyze what this truly signals. Smash the like button, subscribe, and tell me where you are watching from. Let's dive in. Deshaun Watson finds himself at a career crossroads as new reports emerge detailing the singular path he must navigate to secure another contract with the Cleveland Browns. Since arriving in Cleveland through a massive trade, Watson has remained the central figure of our offense. Though his tenure has been defined more by availability concerns and inconsistency than the championship-level production we originally envisioned when he signed his deal. Fans have remained patient, yet the frustration regarding his limited time on the field compared to his immense salary creates an undeniable tension. The latest reports state clearly that management views a near-perfect trajectory, characterized by a 17-0 record and a Super Bowl title, as the only definitive requirement for him to earn his next contract extension. This harsh reality has sent shockwaves through our community, as many supporters feel the organization is finally setting a line in the sand after years of uncertainty. What makes this even bigger is the way this ultimatum reflects the changing expectations under head coach Todd Monken and owner Jimmy Haslam. We have seen other organizations pivot quickly, and this mandate suggests that our patience has officially reached its expiration date. While the goal of a perfect season is a standard every team aims for, placing it as a specific contractual hurdle transforms every single snap into a referendum on his future in Northeast Ohio. Now, we have to look past the headlines and examine the actual logistics of this demand, which leads us to a critical question. How does the front office plan to balance this aggressive stance with the current salary cap commitments already tied to his name? The reality of our situation is that the front office has effectively issued an ultimatum where only a perfect 17-0 season or a Super Bowl trophy will guarantee another contract for Deshaun Watson. We have reached a point where the financial commitment made years ago has become a massive hurdle for the organization to clear while trying to build a competitive roster under Todd Monken. This high-stakes pressure stems from the sheer magnitude of the initial deal, which locked us into a massive guaranteed salary that has limited our flexibility to address other roster holes. Historically, this team has seen star acquisitions fail to materialize into deep postseason runs, leaving us as fans to wonder if the cycle of rebuilding is truly over. Behind closed doors, Jimmy Haslam and the leadership team are likely weighing the grim financial penalties of cutting ties early against the dwindling patience of a fan base that has waited decades for stability at the quarterback position. This is where it gets real because the front office is clearly prioritizing immediate, championship-level production over any further development or patience. They are staring down the barrel of a salary cap structure that forces them to demand excellence from a player who has spent recent time battling injury setbacks and inconsistency on the field. While other teams like the Bengals or the Steelers navigate their own long-term plans, we remain tethered to this singular, volatile path that offers no middle ground for mediocrity. Every snap next season is now a referendum on whether the most expensive investment in our history deserves a future in Cleveland, or if we must finally move in a completely different direction. So that is the background on the current situation, but now let us pivot to what this actually means for our future. And that changes everything regarding how we view the trajectory of this franchise under Todd Monken. The stakes here are incredibly high because we are essentially at a crossroads where financial flexibility meets long-term viability on the field. This reality forces Jimmy Haslam to consider whether the current salary cap structure can sustain our ambitions, or if we must pivot toward a more conservative building strategy to secure depth across the roster. With these fiscal constraints looming, every dollar allocated to our signal caller is a dollar that cannot be spent reinforcing our defense or securing veteran talent elsewhere. This shifts our outlook for upcoming matchups, particularly when we face the Steelers or the Ravens, where the margin for error is razor thin. If we cannot field a balanced squad capable of controlling the clock, our playoff hopes will surely dwindle against seasoned opponents who prioritize structural discipline. The division landscape remains a gauntlet, and without consistent high-level production from our most expensive assets, our path to the postseason becomes significantly steeper. We need to be realistic about how this impacts our standing within the AFC North, especially when comparing our tactical consistency to the systems currently in place within Cincinnati or Baltimore. Maintaining a competitive edge requires us to prioritize depth over individual names, ensuring that we remain a threat regardless of who is under center when the fourth quarter pressure hits. Our strategy must align with a winning philosophy that values the entirety of the 53-man roster over any single investment. The strongest argument for keeping Deshaun Watson hinges on the high-level investment our front office made, banking on the idea that his past athleticism can still flourish under Coach Todd Monken's refined offensive scheme. If he finally finds rhythm, we could see a return on that massive financial commitment through consistent deep ball accuracy and playmaking ability. Conversely, the risk is glaringly apparent. If his production remains stagnant, the team faces a multi-year financial anchor that prevents us from upgrading other essential positions. Here is where it gets interesting, as analysts from national outlets suggest that while some observers expect the Browns to stick with their current quarterback, others are floating potential contingency plans involving veteran acquisitions or aggressive draft maneuvers to secure a new leader. While some pundits argue we must clear the decks entirely, I find those extreme calls to replace everyone prematurely a bit overblown given the talent currently on this roster. The way I see it, moving on right now would cause more chaos than it solves unless we have a guaranteed star ready to step into that spotlight. We need to be measured, not reactionary, because wholesale changes often backfire when stability is required for long-term growth. I believe we have to see if Coach Monken can actually extract the value we paid for before we decide that our future lies elsewhere. It is a tightrope walk for Jimmy Haslam, balancing the weight of past decisions against the necessity of winning games in a division that never grants us any margin for error. We deserve a high-performing offense, but rebuilding from scratch is a dangerous game that could set this franchise back for many more seasons. When we consider the weight of the recent headlines regarding Deshaun Watson and the tactical shift under Todd Monken, the path ahead for our franchise becomes remarkably clear. This is not merely about a single contract negotiation, but about defining the identity of the Cleveland Browns for the next several seasons as Jimmy Haslam seeks long-term stability. And the more I look at this, the path for Watson is strictly defined by performance and professional consistency, rather than past expectations. We should feel a sense of cautious optimism as we head into this season, knowing that our leadership is finally prioritizing concrete results over potential. It is time for this team to move past the noise and focus on the fundamentals of winning games in a competitive division. Holding our quarterback accountable is exactly the kind of maturity we have been waiting for, and it signals that the organization is ready to stop gambling on names and start investing in winners. The transition under Monken offers a fresh tactical perspective that could maximize our current roster if the execution aligns with the game plan. We are at a critical juncture where every snap carries the weight of a franchise turnaround. If you were in the front office, would you commit to a long-term contract extension for Watson right now based solely on his performance during the upcoming season? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Dog Pound, I'll see you in the next one.